If you're looking to get into great shape, whether it's for this summer, on the beach, or you just want to feel great with your top off, I'm going to run through with you the methods that Hollywood stars use to get shredded. If you want to have a defined chest, chiseled looking abs, definition around your shoulders and a good back, then we need to make sure that you're training appropriately for your goal. Instead of trying to get to the gym 5 or 6 times a week, which for most people who have busy schedules isn't even realistic anyway, I want you to focus on a 3 or 4 day workout split where the emphasis is really on the quality of the work that you're doing instead of just adding more volume. I'm not naive to the fact that anabolic steroid use is extremely common for Hollywood stars, whether they'll admit to it or not, but the scope for this video is really guys maybe in their late 20s up to 40s who want to look like they're someone who trains, have a really respectable physique with abs that pop, a great chest, and if you're someone who wanted to look like one of those huge bodybuilders like you see on stage, even maybe the peak Dwayne Johnson look, then yeah, realistically you'll need more volume, but the drugs that you'd be taking, which are necessary to achieve that, would help facilitate that volume, so it's not really relevant for what we're discussing here. With that, we've got 2 splits that you can follow, and that's either an every other day full body workout split, or alternatively you could follow a 4-day upper lower split where for each exercise you're doing, you're probably only going to do a couple of working sets, but those sets that you are doing, you're taking them to failure, you're pushing yourself to the max, and you're training in a way that's actually conducive with building muscle. If you do need help with specific workouts that you can do that will help with building that shredded physique, comment program below and I'll send you a link where you can download my customized workout plans, and I've added a list of my favorite exercises for each body part and how to slot them into the plan so you can pick movements that are aligned with the kit that you've actually got in your gym, so it's super relevant to you. As I said, comment program and I'll pop that link straight over to you. Now, one of the biggest things that will impact you shredding fat and building that dream physique is ensuring your movement levels are high, and one of the easiest ways to do this that won't have a negative impact on our recovery is setting yourself a steps goal. Getting out and walking is literally one of the easiest things you can do, and my recommendation would try and be to split those steps out evenly throughout the course of the day. The way I set things up is I'll get out in the morning first thing before I start work for around 45 minutes, then on a lunch break, even if it's just for like 15 to 20 minutes, and then again maybe for around 30 minutes after work as well. And I'll also try and be smart and use little hacks to bump up my steps, so between sets at the gym when I'm in my rest periods I'll also be pacing around, and then after my workout I'm going to take 20 to 30 minutes and do a fast-paced incline walk. And this is really beneficial because adding that incline on the treadmill and bumping up the speed means I'm increasing my steps, but I'll also be burning more calories at the same time than my regular outdoor walks. On top of that, there's the small things like parking further away at the gym or at the shops that can add up and really help. But for most guys, I'd say you want to be aiming for a weekly average of 12,000 if you want to start shredding off fat, which is what I'm working towards myself currently on my cut too. On the food side of things, we need to ensure that you're in a deficit, but the way I'd actually design my diet is pretty simple. I'd look to split my calories up into 4 meals, which you could either distribute completely evenly, for example 2,000 calories, and 4 500 calorie meals, or you can be a bit flexible with that and lean more into a personal preference approach. But generally the area that most people go wrong is they have breakfast, lunch and dinner, but like 6 or 7 hours between meals 2 and 3 where hunger kicks in and they start feeling sluggish and make poor food choices. So if we can have a designated point at 2 or 3 p.m. or whenever it is in the day that you struggle, that you've got somewhere from like 300 to 500 calories allocated, that's going to make a big difference from a compliance perspective. When it comes to macros and food choices, I want you to aim to get 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. So if you weigh 90 kg, that's 180 grams of protein, which you'll aim to split evenly across your meals which you're having. So in that example, 90 kg man, 180 grams of protein, 45 grams per meal. And that's going to help massively on 2 fronts, both from the recovery from our workouts, potentially adding or ensuring we don't lose muscle tissue, but also protein compared to fats and carbs does take a lot longer to digest and will really help you with feeling full for longer. Looking at our split of carbs and fats with your remaining calories, my recommendation for this is you go more towards your own personal preference. For my guys who are looking to get shredded, I'm setting them a calorie goal and a protein goal and then giving them some freedom when it comes to the carbs and fat split, because really I don't think on the most part it makes too much difference. We definitely don't want to be avoiding carbs as they are your body's main energy source, but if you are someone that prefers higher in fat foods, you can still get shredded with a higher fat to carb ratio, so that is totally fine. In terms of the actual food you're putting in your mouth, there's 2 different approaches that you can follow, and I've used both of these personally to get shredded on multiple occasions, and they both have their own pros and cons, so it's really going to come down to deciding what's right for you based on your own personal circumstances. Approach number 1, which I would add that I used this method before I had a partner, before I became a dad and had my own family, is to go all out on the meal prep. I would spend 2 to 3 hours on a Sunday morning and literally prep virtually every single meal for the entire week and freeze them all ready for each day in advance. And the meals were quite basic in terms of a protein source, which was typically either chicken, 5% beef or turkey mince, and sometimes another source of protein as well, depending on what I fancied. But I'd also have a source of carbohydrates, which could be pasta, potato, or rice, and a lot of veggies in there as well. And the pros of this method was it was very easy to stay on track because you've got everything prepped in advance and you don't have to think each day about what you're going to eat and be making a plan because you've got it there and ready. And I did see results really quickly, but the cons with this are that it is quite an inflexible way of eating, and if you've got a family that you like to eat with or a job that involves maybe like entertaining clients or you're out on the go, it can become quite stressful with that approach. The other method which I lean into now because of my own circumstances, which can be significantly easier to stick with, is looking at the meals that you're currently having now that you know work with your schedule and your routines and your family, and seeing how you can adapt them to be more aligned with your goals. That might mean reducing portion sizes, adding in more protein, or potentially even introducing a few new family and fat loss friendly recipes. But when you know the meals you do have, they work in terms of your routine, your schedule, your family, it can be a lot easier to just try and make small changes to those meals than to revamp your diet altogether. So the pros of this method is it is super flexible. It allows you to have a much wider range of food choices, but the cons are it's a lot easier to go off plan. You have to put a lot more time and effort into thinking about what you're going to have, and that's going to require more planning each week as opposed to if you were just to prep all those meals in advance. Overall, we've also got to think of our mindset in the sense that there are going to have to be some changes and sacrifices if you want to get that beach body, that shredded look, that look like you are someone that changes. But I think a lot of people come into this process thinking about everything that they stand to lose, everything that they're going to have to give up, but they're not thinking about all the things that they gain once they hit that end goal. And what I want you to think about is, how will your life change for the positive? What are the things that you'll be able to do that you can't do now? The clothes that you can wear, the situations that you avoid when you maybe don't feel confident taking your top off. And rather than thinking about everything you have to give up, use that drive and that determination and that motivation to achieve those things and to lead a different life, to push yourself to do those things that you don't want to do and think about how life will change for the better rather than just what you have to give up. I really do believe that anyone is capable of achieving their dream physique. So if you are someone that knows they're ready to change, you want to have that body that you've always been after, but you just feel like you're lacking a little bit of direction, you don't really know what to do, head to the link in the description. You can find out more about how you can work with me one-to-one. I'd love to have a chat with you about how we can get you there, and I'll see you guys in the next video.